Hey y'all, this is Queen Renee checking in again. So, this is our second video for our unknown black history. Um, I don't know that this is so unknown because a lot of us are aware of this particular subject that I will be talking about tonight. So, Queen Renee, thank you so much for joining. Like, share, subscribe, all of that good stuff. I hope you enjoyed this little tidbit that I have for you all today. So, the subject that we're going to talk about today is going to be the subject of eugenics in the black community. Eugenics started in America. Now, a lot of people have the notion that eugenics were started with the Nazis in Germany. Um, like most people, I honestly thought that that's where eugenics started. But actually, the truth of the matter is, eugenics started here in America. Um, it was in the 20s or 30s. Um, Exhibits were set up, like fairs and all those type of things, um, to teach people about eugenics and to explain how it was good for America and the human race. Now, I do want to say before I start that I may say some things that are that some people don't want to hear. That say some language that people don't want to, that people don't like. I don't know if I will. Um, Anyone that knows me knows that I'm my language is a little brash sometimes, especially when I get heated and start talking about things. I may say a couple of words that are not for everyone's ears. I'll put it that way. So please charge it to my head and not my heart because some of this shit just really just burns me all the way up. But anywho, so the fact of the matter is they thought that they could rid the human race of diseases and lower the crime rate and increase wealth of the nation if they could just stop certain people from having babies. Now, right there is a problem because who are you to say that someone, because of where they come from, what they look like, how they speak, or how they act, shouldn't have a baby, shouldn't be allowed to procreate on this earth? Now, if we went around as black people saying and doing such things, we would be called barbaric. We would be called savages. We would be called any name that they could come up with to explain away the fact that we were trying to stop these white supremacists, these white devils from having babies, because these motherfuckers should not be able to procreate in this world. Let's just keep it real. Anyone that hates a whole race of people, and race ain't even a thing. Let's think about that. Let's talk about that. Race is not even a thing. But because I'm black, or because I don't look like you, I am beneath you. And I don't deserve to live, and I don't deserve to be in this world, this country, what have you. Why? Because you think you're superior to me. So, in my opinion, people that feel like that and think like that, they have no right to procreate either. What makes you, if you have that type of thought in your head that no one is, no one wants to be better than you, which we are. Let's just keep it real. Because if you think like that and that's your thought process, we're already one up in you. Let's start there. But I digress. Let's move around. Okay, anyway. So when they thought that they could stop certain people from having babies, what they thought was they would test children to see if they were feeble minded, um, and if they deemed them to be feeble minded. This is white people. Now we ain't talking about black people. Now, we're gonna get to the black part. We're gonna get to the way they did us with their eugenics. But let's speak on how they did their own. And my reasoning for speaking on how they did their own is to show you if they are so disconnected from even their own people that they would do the things that they did to their own, what do you think they'll do to us? When they call us animals, when they compare us to animals, they need to be looking at themselves. And the reason being is animals weed out the runts. Animals weed out the weak. They get rid of the runts. They get rid of the weak because you have no value in a pack of animals if you're weak and if you're a runt. So what they do is they weed them out by they let them die. Their mothers will leave them to fend for themselves. She won't feed them. She'll feed the strong ones. And she'll take care of the strong ones. And she will teach the strong ones to survive on their own. But the weak ones, she'll leave them behind to fend for themselves. And if you don't make it, so be it. Now, this is what they would do to their own. So I need y'all to think about that. Think about the fact of what they'll do to their own. So what they would do is after they would test these children, now we're still talking about the white folks. We ain't talking about black folks yet. They would test their own. If they were deemed to be feeble-minded and the such, they would send them to one of 100 institutions in the area. Now, when they would send them to these institutions, they would do things to these kids. They would beat them. They would starve them. Now, we also need to think about some of the other children that they deemed to be feeble-minded that weren't feeble-minded. And this is their own. They would go in and say a white child, was in foster care. There's one particular story that I read where a young boy was in foster care, and he had been in foster care for years. His foster mother passed away. Now, when they tested him, he tested average. But instead of finding another family to take this child in and care for this child, they sent him to an institution where the quote unquote so-called feeble-minded children were. Now, the reason that they would do things of this nature, this show you how dirty they is. They would take these children that were not feeble-minded, were average children of average intelligence. They weren't, quote unquote, and I'm sorry if I offend anyone, retarded, as they would call them, or mentally challenged, anything of that nature. They were fine. They were of average intelligence. They needed those type of children to pretty much do the work at these institutions. So they would take these children that didn't have families, didn't have, for whatever reason, if their families, parents passed away, their foster parents passed away, what have you. But for whatever reason, these children were wards of the state. They would take these kids, place them in these institutions because they could work. They could grow the food. They could clean the facilities. They could do all of the things that these sorry ass adults didn't want to do, and that they could make them do. In this story that I read about this boy that was a part of the eugenics situation, he said they beat them. They would call it Cherry Wednesday or Cherry Tuesday, something of that, something silly like that. And what it was every Wednesday or whatever freaking day this was, they would put these children in the hall and they would go alphabetically and choose these children to come to the front, pull down their pants to show their naked asses, and they would whoop these kids until their asses turned cherry red. Now, if they do that to their own, once again I say, what the fuck you think they're gonna do to us? If they'll do it to theirs, they don't give a damn about us. So, let's continue. When we think of heritage and our lineage, we're the only people, we're the only quote unquote race of people that the majority of us can only trace our heritage back to our great grandparents. But every other race of people can trace their history back. Every other race of people has a watermark that allows them to know who and where they came from. With that knowledge alone, it makes you know where you belong and where you come from. We don't have that. We don't have that. We have to go through life not knowing. We don't know where we come from. The majority of us don't know where we come from. We know we black. We know we're supposed to be from Africa. Some people say we're not from Africa. We're indigenous Indians. But we don't know. And there's really no way that we will ever really know where our people came from. Yes, I do know that we got Indian in our family. I know that we have white people in our family. There's Blackfoot. There's this. There's that. Who gives a shit? What I want to know is what African continent I come from. Where some of my African features may come from. Where does nose come from? Where these eyes come from? I would like to know these things. We ain't gonna never know that. But I digress because I'm getting off on another subject. But it's just so ridiculous for people to always want to say, go back where you came from. Well, where the hell did I come from? I don't know where to go back to. Because god dang it, if I could, get the fuck out of here and go back somewhere. Go somewhere. But I don't even know where I came from. And why don't I know where I came from? Because white folks took that from me. So I can't go back where I came from. Once again, I digress. I'm sorry, y'all. Anyway, so back on track. Let's get back on track with this eugenics stuff. But anyway, so when we start talking about black eugenics, we need to realize that the so-called black elites blamed or still blames the poor black people for bringing down the race, which in turn backs up and comforts the white race. So when we got these black folks out here talking about, oh, I just can't stand these black ass Negroes, these poor black people. We're talking about people that would be considered blue bloods. Now, I will say this, that according to the way the paper bag thing work and the whole blue blood situation works, I would be in that category because you can see my blue veins be through my arms. Um, I don't consider myself as being light skinned. My my significant other, he does. He considers me as to be light skinned because he's dark, but I'm not. But I can see the blue vein, so I guess I would make the cut. I would hope and wish that if I was back in those times, that I wouldn't have been one of them ones that fed into that foolishness. But those black people back then, the black elites, would turn on us in a heartbeat because according to them, we bring them all down. Now, with race management was a concept of Booker T. Washington and the talented, oh, I can't speak, talented, I can't speak, you guys, talented 10th, talented 10th. Oh Lord. Anyway, W.E.B. Du Bois and Booker T. Washington, they came together. They called themselves. They wanted to manage the less fortunate blacks and weaponize the idea of race management. Hence, starting what was called the Black Miss Leadership class. That's what I'm calling it. But they called it the Black Leadership class. But I'm saying they were the Miss Leadership class because these people believed in black eugenics. Um, they believed in selective breeding and black population control. Through birth control techniques, including forced and also voluntary sterilization of poor black women. They wanted to so-called purify the race. Now, these people were as damaging to the black community as um, the black elites are today. If we think about it, these black so-called leaders or elites nowadays, they're just as damaging to our nation, to our progress as any of them black folks was back in the day that believed in this bullcrap. The fact that W.E.B. Du Bois was fully vested in eugenics shouldn't come as a shock because the whites will and have always used us against ourselves. We've always been pitted against one another. The house Negroes against the field Negroes. Um, the quote unquote blue bloods, blue veins, or whatever the hell they were called against the non. Um, the ones with the pretty hair, the quote unquote so called pretty hair, against the ones with the so called nappy hair. We've always been pitted against one another. We always want to be better than the average Negro. Always. We always got them ones that want to one up. I'm better than you. I got a college degree. I got a house. I got a car. I got a this. I got a that. So I'm better than you. We always, white folks always use us against each other. And a lot of times with the eugenics, they would use words such as weeding out and eliminating, um, so we could have a better selective stock, um, a better stock of people. So if they what they would do is a lot of times they would take young girls. If a young girl got pregnant, um, before 18 or before she got married, and a lot of these young girls that would have these babies, some of them couldn't read, didn't know what they were reading, didn't know what they were signing. They would have them to sign paperwork saying that they were agreeing to be sterilized. And they wouldn't even know what they were signing. Some girls that were truly underage, um, they would have their mothers to sign paperwork giving permission to have these girls sterilized when these mothers didn't even know what they were signing. I lost my whole. We went black for a second, y'all. But so, unlike with the white people, well, let's say like the white people, they would test and they would observe black children to see if they could classify them as being as having mental defects and ranging them from idiots, like saying they're idiots, to a high type moron. Those were the spectrums that they used. Um, Now, when we look at what they were doing there, we have to see that they used the black teachers and the black administrators in the schools when they, and we're not talking so far back where we didn't have black administrators. We're coming on closer to this time, this day and age. But they would use these higher ups, these educated black people, to test these children to see if they were morons or if they were idiots, which is their so-called spectrums. Why does my camera keep going like that? So we also have to see the Coons who hate poor blacks more than some whites do. We got some black folks that be out here cooning for these white folks so tough till they hate us more than white folks do. They believe that there's a stigma of being associated with these types of people that make up the black poor. We also, we were also, what did I'm sorry, y'all. We will always blame the white man for the subjugation of us, but blacks, but we just really can't forget to place a great deal of blame at the feet of the house Negroes that have helped them to get to the to this point. Even though we have to rest things at the white man's feet because he started this foolishness, but we definitely can't forget that there is some coons out here and some house Negroes out here that are worse than these white folks. They want to rid the earth of us so bad, worse than what a white man will. They'll help a white man string you up because they don't give a shit about you. And we also need to know that they perpetuate the demise of black people. Um, these coons need to be stopped. as well. They have been working on us from the inside out for over a century. When I say that, we got infantrators, people that work with us, that sit around and gather up all the information they can gather up to be able to use it against us. And they ain't white. These is black folks. These is them house niggas. Them coons that's working against us. We need to be aware of them. We need to be leery of them as well. Ones that's always hating on you. The ones that's always looking at your side eye. The ones, them snitching ass niggas. That's at work every time you turn around. They snitching on you. And if you think some of them are your friends, until they get in high places, until they get to be a supervisor or what have you, and they supposed to be your friend, and they start throwing your ass up under the bus. Them the ones you gotta look out for. Ones that's always got the juicy gossip for you, but they ain't telling you what the fuck they saying on the back end. Got to watch them too. And once again, I digress. I told y'all. Some of these things be lighting me up and be pissing me off. And I ain't got to say half of what I want to say about these situations. But if you lasted this long with me, I thank you. I'm going to come with some more knowledge for y'all. But this, I want y'all to like, share, subscribe, and what have you. I thank you so much for supporting my channel. For all of you that enjoy my little spiel here and my little bit of unknown history facts, even though eugenics is something I believe a lot of us knows. But if you enjoyed it, I hope you will return again if you come and listen to some more unknown history facts that I'm going to have for you guys. Once again, thank you so much for supporting my channel. And you all have a wonderful, wonderful evening. Good night and God bless.